From the Book of Mysteries by Jonathan Cahn, Day 94, The Law of the Fallow Ground. We were on our way from the city, having finished a number of errands, when we arrived at one of the agricultural settlements. We walked by several fields of grain until we came to an open area that appeared to be neglected. "Do you know what this is?" he asked. "It's called the fallow ground. It's the ground purposely left unsowed, unreaped, and unharvested. You see, if one works the same land the same way over and over again, the soil becomes depleted and the land grows less and less productive. Therefore, farmers would ever so often allow the field to rest, to lie in fallow, unsowed, and unreaped. So if we planted on the ground that had been allowed to lie fallow, what might we expect to happen? It would become fruitful, more fruitful than the other ground? Yes, said the teacher. And this is the law of the fallow ground, a law that contains one of the most important secrets of living a fruitful life. What is the fallow ground? It's the ground that hasn't been touched, worked, or cultivated. And what is the fallow ground in God? It's the ground that hasn't been touched by God. It's every life, every heart, every soul that hasn't allowed God to touch it, that hasn't allowed God's life to enter it. It is therefore critical that you sow the word and the love of God to the fallow ground, to the lost, the unsaved, the unknowing, to the farthest and the most ungodly, to the fallow ground. And if they receive it, they will bear much fruit. Does the law of the fallow ground also apply to those who know God? So much so, he said, that applying it can transfer your life. Even in the lives of those who know God and love God, there is fallow ground. It's the part of your life that has not been touched by God's love or changed by His Word. Whatever part of your life has not been touched, has not been sowed or reaped, that is your fallow ground. Whatever area of your life remains unchanged, unredeemed, ungodly, and dark, whether of actions, thoughts, habits, emotions, or ways, that is your fallow ground. And the law of the fallow ground says that it is that very thing, that very soil, that very area you haven't allowed God to touch and change that will bear the most fruit. It is the part you must plow and sow and water, for it is the ground that is waiting to bear a harvest. As it is written in the prophets, break up the fallow ground, for it is time to seek the Lord. The mission: identify the fallow ground in your life. Open it up to this day, to the touch of God, His Word, and His will. Let it bear its harvest. Scripture references Hosea 10:12 and Matthew 13:23.